So are we about to see the end of The Walking Dead Dead City? Is it going to be ending after season 2 or season 3, or what is going on here? There's a lot to talk about, so before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all of my Walking Dead content like this. Jeffrey Dean Morgan actually made a post on Instagram, and it's really interesting because it kind of teases that we could be seeing the end of Dead City, but when? Or maybe he's talking about a renewal for the show, right? Just for another season, but we'll talk about it here. So before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. Now, this big event that's happening next month, it's on April 30th. I was actually going to do a video talking about this here because it's, I was mentioning it the other day, for Dead City, it's kind of unfortunate that there's no like Comic-Con or anything like that for the show, right? But it looks like there's going to be some sort of event happening at the Palais Center, I believe is how you pronounce it. They're having this live event that's called Walking and Talking, an evening with the Walking Dead Dead City. So obviously on April 30th here at 6:30 p.m. I imagine that's in Eastern Standard Time. So yeah, it's going to be a really exciting event. Obviously, this is happening like the week before the show premieres on May 4th. It's exactly about a month away, but obviously that's not what everyone's talking about. What might actually be revealed at this event here is maybe Dead City ending here. And I do wonder if we're about to see the end of Negan's story here. So let's get into what Jeffrey Morgan actually had to say here. So he made a post about this event and said, and so it begins. Maybe not begins. Continues? Ends? Guess we'll have to see. Maybe a hint. And so I'm looking at that and everyone right away is like, wait, what does that mean? Because obviously if he's saying, and so it begins, well, maybe not begins, continues, ends. What does that mean right there, right? So when I see something like that, I'm wondering, does that mean that Dead City Season 2 is going to be the end of the show? I don't think so. I think personally, if there's going to be, a final season at all, it's going to be like a season 3, right? Which we'll talk about that in a second, but I think that most likely makes the most sense here. But everyone's breaking down this post here and trying to figure out what exactly he means. And it is kind of hard to say because I'm just trying to think, as he's like typing this out, like maybe what he's thinking kind of thing, right? Like if he shares a post about it, maybe it's because he knows that there's going to be some sort of announcement or something like that. But I don't know, maybe he's just making a post or whatever. But, and then he says, and so it begins, obviously referring to Dead City Season 2, right? Because obviously the promotion for the show and the show starting right away, like it's beginning, right? And then he says, maybe not begins, continues, because obviously, I guess it is continuing. There was already a season 1. There's no beginning to this show. It already began, right? In season 1. But then he says ends, guess we'll have to see, maybe a hint. So right there, I'm just kind of like, what does that mean, right? Like, he could just be saying that, maybe it's going to be renewed then for a season 3, or maybe he's hinting that it's going to continue for a season 3, but then that's going to be the final season. Like, if that's the case, honestly, I feel like that's best case scenario. Like, I don't mind getting like 4 or 5 seasons of this show, but I don't think this show's going to be out every year. Like, if it was coming out every year, then for sure, yeah, I would love to have like 4 or 5 seasons of this show. But if the show's going to be coming out every 2 years, then I'm just trying to think of, when they're all going to reunite in general. And I feel like, when is that going to happen? 2028, 2029? I've always kind of assumed that around then, like for sure by 2030, we'll get the reunion with everybody. And I think this whole current Walking Dead story will be over. And so to me, if there is a season 3, and obviously if it comes out in 2 years from now, so say in like spring of 2027, that's the end there of Dead City, that makes some sense to me because, at that point in 2027, we'll be on season 4, I believe, right? Oh no, season 5 of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon. And then this way in 2028, you could always just reunite all the characters or something like that, right? Or again, if they do want to do a season 6 or something like that, then maybe you end it in 2028. And then in 2029, we get the reunion with everyone, right? So to me, it kind of makes sense that Dead City might be one of those shows that, I guess ends after 3 seasons. I don't think, in terms of this post here, when he says, and so it begins, maybe not begins, continues, ends, I guess we'll have to see. Like, you'd basically be confirming that, oh, we're going into the very final season here of Dead City, and so I don't know if that would necessarily even make any sense, just based off of the story right now. Like Negan is in New York. There's a lot of stuff happening there. Maggie and Herschel are going back there. It looks like Maggie is leaving the bricks. Like, there's just a lot of stuff with the story that in terms of it ending right away, especially if Herschel is going to be taking like a villain arc or having like a darker story, it doesn't make a lot of sense to end the story just like that fast, right? Especially if The Walking Dead Daryl Dixon is going to be going on for another, like, I don't know, however many more seasons, right? Like, it doesn't really make too much sense for that. Like, for Daryl Dixon, it's going to be getting a season 4 for sure, because they've already filmed season 3, and they're already going to be filming season 4, I believe, later on this year in Spain. So that's not coming out till fall 2026. So when I look at all of that, I'm like, well, you know, what's coming out in the spring of 2026? I mean, it could be Dead City season 3, but there's been a lot of rumors of another spinoff, and Gimple's been talking about another spinoff in general, and that there's another idea. So I feel like it makes sense that there might be some sort of announcement happening around that point in like a month from now of another spinoff coming out in like the spring of 2026. And so, you know, when I look at The Walking Dead Dead City, I mean, the show is very successful, so I don't really see a point in ending it, but it could be just because of the story and like in terms of maybe some other things that it just makes sense to end it with season 3. And so to me, when I'm looking at this, like just in general, when I look at what this means here, I don't think he's confirming that season 2 is the end. Like, I think that for AMC, they would announce if Dead City season 2 is going to be the end. Like, that's my whole thing with this, is that I think they would say, well, Dead City season 2 is the end, right? Because they've always done that with The Walking Dead. Like, they've always said, like, this is going to be the final season, this and that. And they've done it, like, way in advance. I don't see them being like, on April 30th, okay, this is the very last season here of The Walking Dead Dead City. It's premiering in just 4 days. Like, that's not a lot of time, especially if you really like the characters like Maggie and Negan. Like, that would honestly be really unfortunate to actually just find out, well, the story's ending, like, right there. You know, in the next couple of weeks here, once these 8 episodes are over, that's it for this story. Like, that would be honestly so frustrating, and I would be personally very upset about that, because I want to see more from these characters, right? But I don't think that's what's happening here. I mean, if you look at the other side to it, like, is this maybe confirming that there's going to be a season 3? Like, maybe it's not, you know, necessarily ends, but maybe he's just saying like, oh, there could be a season 3. I don't know. Like, again, it could also just mean that, like, if you're looking at his post here, it says, and so it begins. Maybe not begins, continues, ends. Like, he just kind of throws in ends at the end, right? And when he first writes like, and so it begins, and then says, you know, well, maybe not begins, but it continues or ends, like, how it could really mean a lot of different things. And I don't personally think that this means, you know, that season 2 is going to be the end, because I think that that would be so rushed. There's been no hint at all that season 2 is going to be literally the final season of this show. Like, absolutely at all. The show is premiering in a month from now. I think that would be absolutely insane to be like, yep, this is the final season. Like, wait, what? You're going to be doing another spinoff, most likely, and then you're going to have Daryl Dixon going on for a couple of more seasons, but you're going to end the story with Maggie and Negan. Like, that makes no sense at all, right? So I think that maybe, if anything, this is teasing that, you know, the story is going to continue with the season 3, and that's all, or maybe season 3 is going to be the very final season. I could see that as well. So we'll have to wait and see, I guess, where this is overall going to go here, and I guess what the plan is. I will say, in terms of all of this, I think, like, what I would want here, I mean, if they're going to do like 4 or 5 seasons, cool. I love the characters, I love the story, you know, like, I'll watch everything, but in terms of what I would want for the story to be very exciting, you know, is maybe it ends after season 3, if season 3 is coming out in 2027. This way, in 2028 or 29, somewhere around there, is when we get Rick, Negan, Daryl, like, everybody reunited together, right? I think that would be very cool here, because I feel like something else is happening here. There's been some stuff with like Andrew Lincoln, you know, like in the last couple of months here, in terms of, you know, Rick Grimes returning in some way. And I'm just wondering if like this post here kind of teases that, you know, he might be reuniting with Rick soon. Like, maybe Dead City season 3 is going to be something else, like Rick will be involved with the CRM, you know, in New York City, or like, I'm trying to figure out how that's going to go. Honestly, I'm really trying to figure out what's happening overall just with that story, but it seems like something here is happening. We are building towards something like that, which is definitely very exciting, but it is kind of crazy, you know. Obviously this post here just makes everyone kind of, I guess, very concerned here, because obviously this is like, I mean, this is really exciting. Obviously, I think that if this is going to be the end here, like season 3 is the end of The Walking Dead Dead City, it just means that they're likely going to reunite sooner, and that we're actually probably going to build to a storyline like that. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. So definitely let me know your thoughts down below. Hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.